You know, you guys, it really doesn't seem like that long ago when we made a video discussing how the Golden State Warriors were sort of slipping under the radar while heading into the 2022 playoffs. And of course, you guys know as well as I do by now that with every video we make, we usually just have to wait and see if what we discussed actually comes to fruition. And while I don't want to jinx anything, you guys, it seems like everything we mentioned is describing what the Warriors are doing to the T so far this postseason. Because if it isn't already enough that the Warriors have seemingly found another death lineup that causes pure chaos for their opponents, it really does seem that through the short stint of the postseason so far, that Golden State might just have the assets it takes to be walking home with the 2022 NBA Championship when it's all said and done. One sec though, guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to never miss another NBA video. Love you guys. And for those of you that haven't yet, I am highly encouraging you to do so, because according to my numbers, over 95% of you guys coming back to watch the content haven't even subscribed yet. So for any of you that do, thank you so much. But anyway, to get back to Golden State, if you were one of the people that thought their regular season injury-riddled struggles would somehow transition into the playoffs, you know, I'll just leave it at the fact that that was a very, very bold statement on your part. And I know that I've mentioned this in previous videos, but seriously, you guys, it cannot be emphasized enough how important the improvement of Jordan Poole has been to this team. And you know, I've been seeing on social media how people are trying to say he didn't improve that much simply due to the fact of his small efficiency increases. But you guys, this is simply one of those situations where you just need to throw the advanced stats out the window. Because the new element this kid has added to this team, coming into his first postseason series ever, averaging almost 30 points per game, while also not to mention being sent down to the G League in the previous season, is honestly something, and I don't care how high of hopes you had for Jordan Poole, that nobody could have anticipated. And I mean, alongside this surprise in itself, you have Klay Thompson, who is quite literally all the way back to his peak form, averaging an absolutely absurd 45% from 3 on over 10 attempts per game thus far. And then, of course, you have the craziest part of it all, the greatest shooter in the history of the game being the first person off of your bench. Now, I know the fact of Curry coming off of the bench might be made a little more of a bigger deal than it should be, as he clearly finishes every single game for this team, but there is actually so many reasons in itself why this might be the biggest advantage that Golden State has, which leads directly into the concept of how Golden State is able to confuse the living hell out of any of their opponents at any given time. Because with the absolutely unorthodox rotation that Golden State currently has, I mean, we've seen it time and time again in the regular season and even in this first round series, where teams genuinely do not have an answer for the 5 guys on the court. And of course, this mainly has to do with their overload of guard power, because I mean, the last time we've seen guard power like this on one specific team, you know, I can't even think of a time off the top of my head where someone compared to what Golden State's doing right now. But aside from these 3, Golden State also has one of the greatest batches of pick and plug players out of any team remaining in the postseason. I mean, to start off this list, you have one of the greatest defenders of all time in Draymond Green, another all-star caliber player in Andrew Wiggins, and then of course the next 5 to 7 guys on this rotation that can really be swapped seamlessly to play with any of the top dogs on this team. But the fact that they have one of the most reliable role player groups out of any team remaining, and that they will always be able to have 1, if not 2 or 3 scorers at will on the court at the same time, is, to put it as simply as I can, a pure nightmare for the rest of the NBA, especially if this team is hitting on all cylinders. Which, as we mentioned, that is exactly what we have seen out of the quote-unquote death lineup so far in the postseason. Because as most of you probably know by now, the label Death Lineup 3.0 for Golden State, which consists of Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green, have in the small span of time we've seen them on the court together posted a ridiculous offensive rating of over 204, while also putting up an even more impressive defensive rating of just 75. And granted, at the time, this was only after they had played 11 total minutes in this series with this rotation, and I know that Denver is a horrible matchup for a lineup like this, but if this is even the smallest indication of what Golden State is going to be able to continue to do against some of their opponents, like we already said, the rest of the league is in for a rude awakening. But if there was one weakness to point out with not just the Warriors' death lineup, but more so their entire rotation of players in general, it would ultimately be their inside presence, which has been addressed time and time again with this team throughout the season. But from what we've seen so far in this postseason, and the biggest reason as to why this weakness is substantially lowered for the Golden State Warriors is due to who is the most important piece on this entire team, and I don't care what you say otherwise, but it is this man right here, Draymond Green. Now, I know these conversations are never going to die regarding the true impact of Draymond Green and how some people think he is somehow overrated, but from what we've seen so far this season, both with and without Draymond out there on the court, I am genuinely concerned for anyone who thinks that Draymond doesn't have one of, if not the most impact on this team's success. And don't get me wrong, we can make this statement without doing any discredit to players like Steph, Klay, and even Jordan Poole. It's just the overall effect that this guy has, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball for this team. It just seriously cannot be duplicated by anyone else within their team, and even probably the entire NBA. Like, for example, in what we've seen against Denver so far, on the offensive side of the ball, he is the facilitator for this team. Because while we do know that Steph and Jordan Poole obviously do a decent amount of ball handling for the team as well, when you watch this team, it really doesn't seem like they get put in better situations than when Draymond Green has the ball in his hands. And then don't even get me started on the defensive side of the ball, because this man has been guarding almost every different position that Denver has thrown at him. And aside from this, he makes the big plays, he's the leader, he's the communicator. You've probably heard it so many times throughout the media, but it could not be described better that he is the glue that holds this team together. But yeah, you guys, I mean, aside from their death lineup, their mismatch opportunities that cause nightmares, and the fact that they're one of the hottest teams in the postseason right now, there's probably still more to talk about that I missed, but just with this, you can make a pretty solid argument of how you could see Golden State hoisting the Larry O'Brien at the end of the year. But of course, with everything I've mentioned, we gotta get to my favorite part of every single video, which is hearing what you guys have to think. So please let me know in the comments what else about this Golden State team that I didn't mention is a surefire reason that you think they will finish as 2022 NBA champions. But also, I want to know what has stood out to you the most from what we've seen of Golden State thus far. And again, you guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to go down below and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and of course, subscribe while you're down there. With the playoffs here, we got brand new videos coming almost every single day, you guys. Believe me when I say it, you do not want to miss out. But also, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for watching. I appreciate you all more than anything. You all know this, and I will see you guys in the next video.